Hi there, my name is Jade Bolden and welcome. Today we're going to talk about how to be in control without being controlling. So this is one of the topics of the Energy Balancing with Faith course. I teach this course online and in person. I'm very passionate about helping spiritually mature women feel more liberated, to awaken to their divine self. I want to help them have the skills that will empower them and to help them expand their influence. And part of that is to heal themselves and then to help their children and family heal, and then their loved ones, their friends. So if this sounds like something that you're interested in, you are in the right place, my friend. So welcome. The objective of today's class is to help you become happier, right? Do you want to become happier? All right, so if that's it, that's you, then you're in the right place. To help you have more peace and joy in your heart and home. I know that my friends, my soul sisters, desire this. And then to have stronger relationships with others. We want to have a heavenly existence. We want to practice heaven, right? And so we should practice that now to have stronger and wonderful relationships with our family and friends, and to have more faith and confidence in ourselves and in others. And of course, to trust in God more. We have faith, but we also have fear, and we just want to let go of a lot of those fears so we can be more faith-filled. Let's start by asking the question, what is wrong with being controlling? Sometimes we know it's not good, but we can't help it. Sometimes we feel like we need to hold on to controlling. But if we pause for a minute and think about it and resolve it within ourselves, tell ourselves, hey, why it's not a good idea and why the alternative is a better idea, then we'll be able to make those changes, right? So let's go through the list. So being controlling is actually being fearful and pushy. We are forcing ourselves upon other people or situations, and fearful is not faithful. So we want to have more faith. So that's not a good idea to live in fear. And when we live in fear, we actually create our fears because we are powerful beings that have energy to create. We don't want to create haphazardly, do we? So we actually end up making ourselves unhappy and making others unhappy too. So being controlling is not a good idea. You do not want to have, those bad relationships. Trying to change the relationships, all right, by figuring out how you can be less controlling. All right, so when we don't have good relationships with others, we tend to create children who are rebellious and friends that are contrary because they feel repressed and manipulated. Right, so if we face that truth, we'll be able to, make some changes. Okay, so it also creates a lot of contention and criticism in relationships. Believe it or not, we can live without being critical, right? We can have critical thinking, and that's healthy, but being critical of others, judgmental, is not healthy, okay? And we'll explain more about that in a minute. Being controlling actually is robbing people, taking people's power of choice away. So it may be unintentional, but it's unintentionally robbing people of their agency. Okay, so that's not good. And when we do that, we create children that are indecisive and insecure because they can't make wise decisions. They don't trust themselves because we have not let them have that trust and confidence. And then we create children who can't accept responsibility for their own choices or be accountable for their own choices. So not healthy at all. So if we're more aware, then we'll be able to make these good changes, and it can be very quick. So why are we controlling? There's a reason why we do what we do. If we understand why we do what we do, then we can probably very quickly change what's under the surface that drives our actions. We actually feel out of control when we are controlling people. You push and you are forceful. It's actually because deep down inside you feel like you need to be pushy and forceful because it's, you can't control this situation and you want to. So, and it can be conscious and it can be subconscious, but either way, it's actually our subconscious belief that we're not in control, okay? We fear we can't close the gap or the gaps Okay, what does that mean? So wherever you are right now, you have an ideal place you want to be. Okay, whether it's successful in your business, in your work, in your family life, in your relationship, or whatever, you have this ideal, and you see where you are now, and you see this huge gap in between where you are and where you want to be. And you're like, oh, I just feel overwhelmed. I don't know how I'm going to get there without, making mistakes, and it's hard. And then you look at the gap, and the gap makes you feel what? Stressed and sad and anxious and depressed, right? Or you have this fear that you can't lose weight, fear that you can't be healthy, for example. That's even if you're controlling and overly strict, it's actually based on fear, okay? So the other reason why we're controlling, which is valid, is we want to avoid mistakes, pains, and problems. Yeah, that's fair. That's very fair, isn't it? We want to do things right as much as possible, which is very wise, right? And we want to avoid a lot of pains. But sometimes we want to avoid this too much, okay? And it becomes a bit of a problem, okay? We are impatient, and we want things done the right way and in our time. Okay, so that's the other reason we stress, and then we try to take over control, and just, if it needs to be done right, well, I will have to do it, right? Nobody cares enough, right? Maybe, right? We think that if things aren't done in the right way, then, people won't be happy. So if you do it the right way, then everybody will be happy, we think. Okay, we think that happiness is out there when we reach that destination. Maybe not, okay? Because how's it all working out for you? Doing the same old things, getting the same old results. That's insanity, isn't it? This here, being controlling, is actually very self-focused and being intolerant and not empathetic to others. And sometimes people might say, well, what do you mean? It's not self-focused, is it? Well, it's the results you want, okay? Your results. It's in your time. And you want to resolve pains quickly because you don't want to feel that pain. So, for example, if you have children who are experiencing some things and, it takes a while for them to figure stuff out, and you just feel like, oh, it's so uncomfortable to watch, and you just want to fix it, right? You're trying to feel comfortable yourself because watching other people is uncomfortable. But what if they need to stay in their discomfort for a little bit longer so they can learn the lessons that they need to learn, right? So, it's pretty self-focused or selfish, right? And sometimes we do it because we have a need to be right, a need to be important, loved, and needed. We want to make sure that things go the way we want it because then it makes us feel good about ourselves. We can feel good about ourselves with God and feel our fundamental human needs. And then we won't need to be controlling to feel right and important and loved and needed. We all need to feel these things. It's okay to need those things, but we can feel those needs in a different way. So in the end, we're controlling because we want to be happy. And we think that if things go the right way and have the right outcome at the right time, then we will be happy. Okay, all involved will be happy. So that's fair. That's why people can't let go of being controlling. They think that that's where their happiness is found. Okay, so that's reasonable. You can see why people continue to control. You can see that, on a big scale with governments and stuff, and, they've got their ideas of how everyone's going to be happy, right? But we actually need to reconsider a little bit and find where happiness really comes from. So I want to share with you this, why we need to surrender control. And actually that surrendering, when people think surrender, they think, oh, let go, give up. But it's more like a merge of your will to God's will for more control. You will feel like you're in control. So you won't need to control others and situations because you have this greater degree of joy and hope and wisdom and light. Okay, so you see here on the levels of consciousness, most good people are in the middle there. They've got courage, they trust, and they have pretty good health and they're pretty productive. But sometimes when you get to there, you don't know that there is a higher degree of being that you could be. And therefore, when you get up to that point, sometimes we subconsciously sabotage and then we'll go back down and then we try to climb back up, and then people go round and round in circles right there. And that's their life. And it's kind of a little bit of mediocrity, right? And in the end, they're kind of happy, but they're not as fulfilled, okay? So there is a higher level. And as we raise our vibration, connect to God, divine self, we actually perform without stress because we have greater understanding, greater wisdom, and we can get to the point where we can obtain more joy and gratitude and love, and then we can work in synchronicity with God and the universe, and then have more extraordinary outcomes. And because you feel that greater connection to the divine, you feel powerful, okay? So you feel like you've got more control, and therefore you don't need to be controlling. It's an amazing feeling that you're contained within yourself and you're so confident, okay, in this divine power within. Okay, you tapped into this reservoir of eternal powers. So, a lot of people, they just want to be good and they want to be obedient, and, it's like being a servant, and that's great. It's a good place to start because we need to start there anyways, like following the directives of Heavenly Father and just being super obedient. And then eventually, once we've trained up enough, God sees that we are connected more fully and we've sacrificed our will, and we are able to merge and be one with God. So at one with God, right? And then eventually he says, well, you know what? You're my friend. Let's do stuff together. So you can call upon the powers of heaven to move mountains, and I will agree with you. I will support you in that, because everything you want is what I want. What I want is what you want anyways. Okay, we're one. So here's a scripture in John 15:15. Henceforth I call you not servants, for the servant knoweth not what his Lord doeth, but I have called you friends, for all things that I have heard of my Father I have made known unto you. Okay, and you know my will as well. You see, that's where we can go. And many times I feel that great peace, and I do feel that power of synchronicity. And we're humans, so sometimes we slip down a little bit and not as disciplined as we normally are, and that's okay. We go back up and it's amazing. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Okay, the other thing too is to know what you really can and can't control, so then you can stay within your just zone of power and genius. What can we control? We can control our own choices. So our choices extend to our thoughts and our beliefs. So what are you thinking and what do you believe? You've made those choices. Okay, and then because you made those choices, you own your feelings and your actions. Sometimes you're like, well, so-and-so made me, or I just feel angry. So those feelings and those actions come from thoughts and beliefs. Okay, we are belief-driven creatures. So if we make sure that we have good, positive beliefs and then let go of the negative, fearful beliefs, then our feelings will be more positive and our actions will align with that positivity. Okay, I talk more about this in my course. So what can't we control? Of course, we can't control other people's choices and their thoughts and beliefs and their feelings and actions. And then we really can't control the results or consequences of what happens because everybody else's choices and even our choices, okay? Once we make a choice, the consequence will roll forward and we have to be accountable for that. All right, the best thing is once you're accountable, for the future, you can make better choices, okay? Just keep that in mind. All right, sometimes people want to even control the weather or they control, the finances in the home and the kids' choices and everyone else's. So much control. And if we even let go of that and align ourselves with God, we find that in God's accounting, things are even better. We have income coming from many sources. We have, people supporting us in our parenting. We have blessings, left, right, and center. All right. So when we allow God in as part of our life, things are so phenomenal. How do we let go of being in control or let go of being controlling? Well, first of all, what worked for me is to have a strong relationship with God for peace, security, and daily downloads. If you're feeling peaceful, you're not feeling fearful, are you? Right? If you're feeling secure in yourself, you don't need other people to do things that make you look good and make you feel good. Okay, you're not attached. And the daily downloads guides you, so you know what you should do, and you trust that God will keep you safe and happy and successful, right? So that is how I let go of being controlling. So I suggest that you start to get to know yourself well and find your happiness. For me, it was a journey of self-love and self-trusting and self-accepting, self-healing, and stop that self-suppression. Stop apologizing for yourself. I know that I'm kind of nerdy. I like books and I like, sharing information and all that stuff. And, I just feel like I don't know if people get me or understand me or appreciate that about me. They just want to help, right? And help refine, and I just apologize for being that way. But when I loved myself and I learned to love me the way God loves me, I stopped apologizing and just accepting that and playing my role. So it stops us from sabotaging. We allow ourselves to earn the money that God wants us to earn and receive the friends that God wants us to receive without burning bridges, without, being silly. Get to know yourself well. So your children are not extensions of you. So don't feel like, they reflect upon you. It makes you less, or, your house or whatever. It is a little bit, but not to the extent where it defines you, okay? And once you find your happiness, you know what you want in life, know where you're going, then there's not that need for controlling. The other thing I want to share is be trusting of God. God's got this. It's His universe. It's His world. It's His children. Everyone else are His children too. He will jump in and serve and help and send angels. So even with your own children, God's got this, okay? So allow Him to guide you without you assuming that your ideas and your ways are the best. So know your purpose and do it well. Okay, so you know yourself and you should know why you're here and what you're offering to the world, how you contribute to humanity. And then focus on that. Imagine if you focused on this purpose, then you're excitedly engaged and you're not distracted by, other people and their choices. So, for me, I feel like love and encouragement of others to do the same. And then we point people to God for their highest good. So when we know that, we have a purpose and if we do it well, we will be happy. Well, if we allow other people to do the same, allow them to be different and whatever in their own special way, then we just need to point people to God. So as a mum, I love to just discover who my kids are and then encourage them to do what they're naturally inclined to be happy doing. Okay, so with my friends and my business partners, the same thing. It's just love and encourage people. There's no need to criticize. There's no need to point out all the things that everyone's doing wrong, because pretend that they do it all right the way I do it, then there's just going to be a ton of me in the world, right? And there's not that diversity. There's not that beauty. And, how do I know that my right is the right, right? So having, said that, we feel light. We feel free because all we need to do is point people to Heavenly Father where He will guide them. So act as inspired. So you are going to be guided by Heavenly Father. You're going to receive your daily downloads. So you take action. Okay, don't just have downloads and just keep it in your heart. You take action And when you act in a way that is unattached to others. So, we become so manipulative, if unnecessarily and unknowingly sometimes, because we feel like if other people change, other people do this, then I'll be happy, then I'll be able to do what I have to do. Well, it doesn't have to be like that. You can act and do your part and let other people do their part. So don't hold other people responsible for your happiness. Don't get mad at them for not doing what you want them to do. And make sure you fulfill your fundamental human needs by God, okay? Because sometimes when people are like this, they, haven't filled their fundamental human needs, and so they need other humans to fill their needs. I have a video called The 6 Fundamental Human Needs, so you can do a search on YouTube for that and, understand more about what those needs are. But basically, if you feel loved, like so loved by God already, you feel important, your role on earth, you don't need other people to feel those needs, and everything that they give you is just bonus. And we like bonuses, right? But it's not the main source, okay, where it fulfills your soul. So when you see people who have met their fundamental human needs with God, you see that they are fulfilled and they never thirst and hunger for the validations of the world. So that will be you. So believe that you are a good person and that you mean well, and that other people are good and they mean well too. Sometimes we just haven't made that decision, and when people tell us what they think of us, then, if it's not ideal, then we hurt and then we're offended and, we go on to the defense, right? This is our responsibility to decide who we are. So, convince yourself, talk to yourself and say, hey, who am I? Am I a good person? Check in with God. Am I a good person? I do all these good things. I try and I mean well. Well, then just agree with it and stop listening to Satan, right? And just allow yourself to be a good person. If you need to label yourself as that to help you, go ahead. Label yourself well. And so if people give their opinion from their dark negative glasses, then it's their opinion and it's okay because it doesn't affect you. But when you don't have a decisive label or an identity, then it's easy to let other people identify you and define you, okay? So your responsibility. So sometimes, if you're watching this and you're like, well, I'm not controlling, other people are controlling of me. Well, it's because we haven't created that foundation, that anchor of who we are. People won't feel the need or that they can control you if you are anchored, okay? Your energy will naturally repel people from, controlling you when they know you feel in control. I suggest that we learn to accept people for their differences. I don't know why sometimes in society, well, I do know why, it's because of fear. They are so fearful of differences. And in my mind, I've convinced myself that differences are good. It adds to the world. It gives the world color and depth and, dimension. It just makes it so much more enjoyable to have different personalities and just different ways of looking at things. It adds to the world. So if you decide to not feel threatened that people are different, that it will add to you, then that's another thing that can help you let go of control. So if you have children that are, bouncy and just happy and sunshine and they've got ideas and, and if your personality is more mild, accept it and allow it to be good for you. It adds to your soul. So I just want to talk about authoritarian versus authoritative parenting here. When I first got married, my husband and I, we read books and studied on parenting, and it was very helpful. At that time, we decided we want to be the authoritative parent, okay? Because the authoritarian parents are the not trusting parents, the parents that make all the decisions for their kids and have so many rules. And the kids just have to be obedient, strictly obedient. If not, they get punished left, right, and center for every little thing. Okay, just make sure that they learn their lessons. And it's because they have this false belief that the kids come as an empty slate, a blank slate. But the authoritative parents are the parents who are anchored. They know where they're going, they know what they want, but they trust and rely and are relying on their children to make good choices. And more than not, the kids rise to the occasion and become reliable and become trustworthy. These parents allow their children to make mistakes and allow the natural consequence to be sufficient punishment instead of, seeking out added punishment. Sometimes the punishment doesn't even fit the crime, and they just do it anyways. And these kids, they become fearful and a whole bunch of negative things that I don't need to talk about right here. But, that authoritarian parenting is controlling. And the authoritative is just trusting that other humans are great. Other humans will figure it out just like you have. And they're intelligent. I believe my children have great intelligence. Some of them might be older souls than me. And that they can always teach me things and add to our family. So, having that foundation of belief, it changes the way you approach people. How to allow others to be themselves. Okay, so not just letting go of control, but now you're encouraging and supporting people to be themselves. Okay, so this is important because if you're focusing on what you can do, you're not going to be focusing on, being forceful and controlling. So focus on loving people unconditionally. Guess what? You have to learn to love yourself unconditionally. You have to allow yourself a lot of grace. And once you learn how to do that, your cup is filled, you will naturally love other people unconditionally. And this is not saying that everybody has free access to you, equal access to all your time. It's just your ability to love people. And you don't have to like everybody the same way, okay? It's just you have this ability to see them as a child of God, okay? So God will help you love them so you can be more Christ-like. Okay, and loving is a great place to start. It's actually the second commandment, right? The second greatest commandment, to love others like you love yourself. So the other thing too is train yourself to observe and understand people's true natures and their gifts towards, and then guiding them towards their own path of progression. You see how beautiful they are, their differences, and their nature, if they're happy, bouncy, or if they're calm and they're contemplative, whatever it is, you just watch and see, and their body language and their energy levels, their interests will all give you clues, and those clues give you the opportunity to keep on encouraging and supporting them in that way, okay, the way they need, okay, not the way we think they need, okay, because we allow them to be themselves. So ask God to inspire you as to how to encourage and support them. So, we have these daily downloads, right? Those daily downloads are very important, and it doesn't take too long. It takes seconds to just ask, hey, what is it am I supposed to do with this person? How can I help, right? And what is my role in this situation? Right, and then you can share and love and support in the way that you're supposed to, without having to rely on your limited understanding and be imposing. So have the outward thinking mentality. It's very helpful to think of things in other people's perspective. And when you do so, it's easier for people to see things from your perspective. And you have a greater degree of collaboration and joy, cooperation in your life. Encourage people to be themselves, okay? So like I mentioned earlier, I was very apologetic for being me. Sometimes I feel like I'm too serious, I'm not fun. But I am fun in my own way. Serious is maybe a negative way of seeing that I am committed, I'm loyal. So allow others to struggle and make mistakes safely. All right, mums out there, I'm talking to you right now. We have such a loving heart. When we see people struggling, it's hard for us not to jump in and swoop them up. But sometimes it's not a good idea, because what if Heavenly Father's trying to help them and help them figure stuff out? Because we don't want to be robbing people of their opportunity to have that reward of accomplishment. And when they've accomplished something on their own, or they discovered something on their own, we don't want to be robbing them. Okay, we want them to, own that and have that as their own. Like, you did this, you figured it out, well done. Okay, so sometimes the struggle is the best gift, allowing them to struggle. I'll tell you what, if the children are safe making mistakes under your roof, then when they get older, they make less mistakes that are severe, because they've practiced learning from their mistakes. And when you kindly help them through it, I feel like the natural consequence of the mistakes is sufficient punishment. I don't need to add to it. Okay, so if your child forgets their homework at home, they don't get the grades, or they get docked a few percentage, that's sufficient. We don't need to be adding to that pain, right? It's crazy, right? Why is that necessary? Because we're sending the message, hey, you can't be trusted. I need to pour lemon on this pain and this cut so that you can learn your lesson. But you're saying, hey, you got to learn your lesson through pain all the time. It doesn't have to be that. It has to be super painful. No, it doesn't have to be. What if it's just sufficient and they learn their lesson? That's sufficient. So for me, I just want to keep being inspired and being supportive and loving and understanding, and say, hey, I did the same things. So allow them to struggle, okay? Sometimes we try to alleviate their pains because we feel that pain and we don't want to be feeling that pain. So we just need to step back, hold our tongues, and just let them be. All right. Allow people to pay the price of pain to learn their lessons, okay? They are powerful lessons. That's the price that we pay to know God better too. Because sometimes it is painful to let go of the resistance and let go of our pride, and allow ourselves to learn how to merge our will with God. And so it's just growing pains. It's the shift that, we're in a different energetic state that is painful. So allow them, because you can't do that learning for them. They are the only ones that can learn for themselves. And so what we can do is to love them through it and encourage them through it, okay? So this is very important. It's for their own good, for their higher good, not for your comfort, because that's not our goal. Our goal is not other people's comfort, okay? We're not in charge or responsible to keep people comfortable, okay? The best thing we can do is to encourage people so that they can progress. Okay, and progression is super important because it moves them towards their divine self. Okay, and that's where they're going to find their greatest joy. Okay, whether they know it or not. Let's talk about communication. Communicate clearer. Keep working on this, refining your language. Okay, and then do it with respect. No shaming. Okay, so I'll give you an example. My kids, they're generally good kids. One day, we came home from a dance, and the older girls came home with their friends, and they were in the bedroom, and they had the door shut, and they're giggling. And I came home later with the younger girls, and we went upstairs, and we knocked on their door. Hey, how you guys doing? What's up? And they're like, okay, come on in. So I'm like, oh, it's interesting, because they usually are downstairs in their living room hanging out with friends. They're not hiding in their bedrooms, right? And so I'm like, hey, what are you guys playing? Just this game. So their friend had brought over a card game, and it seems like maybe there's something fishy about that game. But I decided I'm going to be respectful, and I'm going to communicate well, okay? I've already taught my kids many times, a long time ago, what is appropriate and what's inappropriate. But here's their opportunity to learn, right? So I said to them, hey, have fun, you guys. Make good choices. All right, we'll be downstairs if you want to hang out with us. Come downstairs. And so we left. And then when we left, the twins told me, hey, Mom, I don't think that game's appropriate. And I said, yep, I sort of felt that, but I'll let them figure that one out. So let them be safe to make mistakes, okay? I'm not going to, pick up the box and read through the cards and say, well, it's it's 18 plus, are you guys 18? Or, shaming them, or whose crazy idea was this, right? Who didn't make good choices, right? I don't need to do any of that. It doesn't make them feel good, doesn't make me feel good. And look, I'm allowing them to make mistakes. Anyways, no, those girls came down, within 5-10 minutes because they got bored of the game or whatever. So a couple of months later, I kind of mentioned it again. I said, hey, that one day when so-and-so brought over the game that you guys were playing in your bedroom? And they're like, oh, yeah. Well, I said, that wasn't an inappropriate game, wasn't it? And like, yeah, it was, Mum. And I said, I knew that. And they're like, thanks, Mum, for not, pointing that out. Because they didn't know what game their friend was bringing over. And they didn't know how to say no to her, right? And they figured it out later on. But they played a couple of rounds or whatever, and she's like, well, the girl, she knows us, and she tries to put the naughty cards in the back. And it was still inappropriate, wasn't fun anyways. Yeah, we kind of stopped it after a while because it wasn't appropriate. And I said, good job, good choices, right? And that's it, you see? But, be clear on how you communicate. What is it that you do want? When I say clean house, what does that mean? So when the kids were little, I held their hands and walked them around the house and said, this is what clean looks like. Your clothes are in the basket and these clean clothes are folded and the toys are put in the bin, and, just kind of showed them what a clean bedroom looks like. And then we moved to the next room and the next room and the next room. And I said, how do you feel, guys? How do you feel? And it's like, I feel great, Mum. And I said, hey, so this is the feeling of peace. This is the feeling of contentment. These are the words that you can use to describe this feeling. And so when I say, hey, clean up, let's keep the house clean, the kids have a good idea. And the purpose of cleaning is not so Mom can be happy. The purpose is so our family can feel the Spirit of God and feel peace. And when we feel peace, we have less contention, right? So that's, for cleaning and stuff. What about education? So I have a friend who's like, Jade, my son is so difficult and I try to get him up for school and he's just that teenager that just rebellious and won't listen and won't get up for school, and he doesn't care about homework and doesn't care about all these things. And the more I ask her questions, the more I realize that she was trying to control him and his schooling and his homework. And she does not trust him, okay? So she has all of these rules that he doesn't want to play along with because it's her rules, not his. He didn't make any of those choices. When you're responsible for your children's education and for their homework, for their whatever, they don't need to be. So when we give them back their power, they will be fully responsible. So when I learned that, Heavenly Father taught me that, I taught my kids and asked them questions about education. I said, hey, why do you go to school? They're like, well, you go to school so we can learn and make friends and, maybe one day we can go to college and get a job later on. Good answers. Thank you. I want you to know that the bigger purpose is to have intelligence. And I explain what intelligence is. It's not just knowledge. It's not knowing stuff, trivial information. It's the application of knowledge, in a wise way. And that's intelligence. And I say the glory of God is intelligence. And if we want to be like God, we want to be intelligent. We want to learn information. We want to filter out information that's no good. So not all your teachers and not everything they teach is perfect, right? So you got to filter through discernment, through your heart and your mind, and then, apply it. Apply it in your life. And, you're responsible for your own intelligence. You can learn everything that you learn in school, pick the classes you want to pick, but also in the greater scheme of things, what kind of person do you want to be and how are you going to get there? And so my kids decide that beyond what they offer in school, the kids want to learn extra things at home. So they've taken up languages and music and other things. They're not like super experts at everything anyway, but I don't want to make it sound like that. But they go above and beyond. So they get their homework done. They check their grades. They let me know what their grades are, and I just clap and praise and support. They go beyond what is required in school because they are fully responsible. They control their own self. So I never need to be that controlling person, right? As a parent, we want to let go of the decision making as early as possible. And as our kids grow, of course, we have different degrees. But, when they're little, we can help them make choices by saying, hey, which dress do you want to have? like this one or this one, right? If you're okay with both, it doesn't matter which one they choose, right? You know, we allow them to have more and more and more choices as they get older. But, you know, when you offer these choices, offer choices that you're okay with either one. And then as they get older, you know, allow them to make mistakes under your roof and just love them through those mistakes, okay? That way they feel like they own their power. So many adults we know have no idea how to make choices and be confident in their decisions. We talked about happiness, okay, because that's the ultimate goal. Why people decide they want to be controlling, right? We want to be happy. So where does the world think happiness is found? This is something that we need to kind of look at and, you know, really be honest with ourselves about, okay? So if we're looking at how the world finds happiness, they find happiness in competition, comparisons, and conditions. When this happens, then I'll be happy. Okay, even if it's some stupid condition like I used to have, you know, when the dishes are clean, then I'll be happy. Competition is like when I'm the best, when I'm the most, when I'm the prettiest or the bestest or whatever. And comparing, right? So what happens is we have really one winner at everybody else's expense. Okay, so, you know, really, are we really truly happy? And sometimes when people, they work towards a marathon or something, they don't really celebrate because they get it and they get it done. They think they're going to be happy and they end up not being that happy. They're not unhappy, right? They do have a degree of happiness, but it's like, oh, okay, and then it's short-lived. Sometimes we achieve a lot of things. We get awards and we get trophies and certificates. You know, when you study and you've got all of these, you know, degrees and things, fantastic. But does that happiness last? It's good, you feel good and happy, but it's not that perpetuating happiness and peace that we're looking for. So sometimes we think happiness is in our looks. So if we're a little bit skinnier, if we're a little bit, you know, hotter, if our hair is nicer and all that, then we'll be happy. So in looks and in the current definition of beauty, in the past, slight chubbiness was ideal because it means you're wealthy and you can afford to feed yourself. Okay, and in countries nowadays, you know, sometimes if you're really, really white, then you're pretty. In some countries, you're really, really tanned, you're pretty. And, you know, so it's like the world's definition. So trends change with the wind. You know, happiness, they're going to last? I don't think so, because the colors and the, you know, what's in can be out anytime. Right? And so you put all this effort into being in, and then you have to change your wardrobe or change your house and change your furniture or whatever. That's not where happiness is found. Okay? And it's very exhausting. Or in possessions, how much of this do you have? How much of that do you have? And the more you possess, and you think you're happy, but you're still without. Or there's certain conditions. Well, when everyone helps me out, when my husband gets it and understands and helps me out at home, blah, 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 I'll be happy. And, you know, we keep on making all of these conditions up and holding happiness out. You know, and that's why we get controlling, because we're like, well, we have to be strict, we have to be like this, and it has to be like this, and it has to be that. You know, wow. Or this accumulation of wealth, or, you know, the need to be liked and loved and popular by other people. If I can have all of these Instagram followers or whatever it is, you know, lots and lots of friends, then I'll be happy. But guess what? These things, if they're your sole source of happiness, then you're going to find that it is insatiable, okay, that you'll always be wanting more. So these things, they're not bad, but they're not your sole source of happiness. Just remember that. It's fine to have good things. It's fine to have money. It's fine to have great friends. It's fine to win things and achieve. It's fine to look good. It's fine. But this is not where we'll find our greatest happiness, okay? Just know that we didn't need to place our hearts in here, all right? These things will naturally come anyways, okay, when we focus on where happiness is truly found. And this is where happiness is truly found. Happiness is truly found in feeling the love of God and trusting in God's definition of right and perfection. So when we feel that we're on the right path, that God's approving of us, that He's connected to us, that He's near, He will tell us what is right, that this is His version of perfection, His definition. And when we align ourselves to that, we just feel this inner satisfaction, inner joy, inner peace, no matter what's happening in the world. When we know we are important to God, God has trusted us with a message, trusted us with a calling, had that connection to us and says, hey, I would like you to help with this, right? I entrust these children to you, or whatever it is. When you feel that God feels that you're important, you feel happy. When you are fulfilling the measure of your creation, what does that mean? It means that you found your purpose, and then you're adding to the world, you're contributing to humanity in a way that satisfies your soul. So you're more than just a mother, you're more than just a wife, you're somebody that has a personality, okay, likes and interests and stuff, okay, and you know how you enjoy serving humanity, okay? So when you're doing what you're supposed to be doing according to your heart, then you find that peace and joy and that happiness that we're looking for. And nobody can take that away as we intentionally become and progress, okay? In the intentionally becoming and progressing towards your divine higher self, that's where happiness is found. It's found in being intentional. It's found in becoming and changing and progressing. So that progression, it requires effort. It requires self-discipline, right? To move through pains and to create a greater capacity for joy. So when we appreciate pain for what it is, it's a lesson in love, then we can move through it faster, so we don't have to experience it and extend it too long, right? And then what happens is the gift is we carve out a greater capacity for joy. Yeah. And so you have more ability to be joyful. Okay. That's where the happiness is found. So that's self-discipline. It requires this clear understanding of your role and your purpose on earth. So I know that our purpose on earth is to be practicing heaven. We don't wake up one day and go, ta-da, I'm in paradise now and I'm a totally different creature. Who we are now will be the same when we are resurrected. So it's time for us to learn to love ourselves, love humanity, serve, and develop our souls. When we know that, our actions lead us to more progression of our souls, helping us be better spouses and better parents, then that happiness is deep in your soul and no one can take it away. Okay, you won't lose it. You can't. Knowing your role and how you collaborate with others, your divine progression will give you this feeling of satisfaction, contentment, and fulfillment, and you'll feel whole. Okay, because you're here to practice heaven, practice having joy. In the Book of Mormon, we read, men are that they might have joy. And it also, that's in 2 Nephi 2:25. And another scripture it says, Alma 41:10, it says, wickedness was never happiness. Okay, so the things that are not in alignment with God, really, is not happy. When you're aligning yourself to your divine purpose, that's happy. So you'll feel happy, and then you'll want others to be happy too. It's just natural. Your cup is filled, and you just want to share it. So think of it as you're a piece of the puzzle that fits in and helps create the world, helps make the world go around, right? So you're an important part. Change and progression is so important. That's where we will find our joy. So have a look at the picture on your left. Success and failure is in the same direction, my friend. So let yourself fail. Okay, my kids, I ask them, what is a mistake? It's accelerated learning. That's all. It helps you know what not to do and guides you to know what better to do. Okay, and we need to fail to get to success. We are successful, we can move forward, and then through that journey we'll fail some more and we'll get up. But mediocrity is the opposite of that progression. In the spiritual religious terms, they'll call it damnation, right? Or stagnation, where we're not making any progress at all. So as a teacher, I focus on this. We have this comfort zone. This is where we are right now, what we've developed. And a lot of people, in their fear, they like to stay in their comfort zone. And they think that they have control. They think, okay? But I'll tell you something. The comfort zone will shrink and close in on them if they don't allow themselves to grow. Okay, we're ever changing and everything is moving all the time, so nothing just stuck there. So that comfort zone will close in and shrink. So the best thing to do is live in your instructional zone, which is right outside your comfort zone, which is a little bit of a struggle and stretch, but not too much that you're going to be frustrated. Okay, so when you look at the big tall mountain that you're going to climb, sometimes you feel frustrated because you want to do it all now and you can't figure out how. Okay, that's frustrational zone. So you don't have to push yourself that far and go there, even though you can hold on to that vision saying, hey, I'm going to be there one day. The instructional zone, if you stay there, you find joy because you're like, oh, I'm getting better, I'm getting closer, I'm improving, I'm happier, I'm brighter, and all that. Like as a school teacher, if I'm helping a child read, he's on a level 5, I'll give him level 6 to read, right? It just makes more sense. You don't give him a level 20 and then expect him to be happy about that. So same with you. Know your instructional zone. Know that you're a little bit stretched, but not too much, but then you're not, pulling back and hiding in your comfort zone. Okay, that's where your joy is. That's where you don't need to be controlling, because sometimes if you're pushing yourself so far, you're in that frustrational zone, you have a tendency to be pushy and controlling because you feel like, you're frustrated and you feel like you're not in control, right? Jim Quick, he posted this recently and I thought it was very, very good. So if you look at the comfort zone, it's where you feel safe and where you think you have control. And then right outside the comfort zone, all right, is this fear zone. And that's fair. That's really fair because it's an unknown, right? We lack self-confidence in some degree. We find excuses if we stay there and we're affected by other people's opinions. But if you push through that, you have this learning zone where you can deal with the challenges and the problems and you can acquire more skills and you extend your comfort zone because the comfort zone will grow, right? And, follow you. And then you have this growth zone. For the instructional zone that I put up earlier, I think that's where the learning zone and the growth zone merges. So you find your purpose and you live your dreams, you set goals and you conquer objectives. That's fantastic. And stay there in that blue. Okay, because if you go outside of that learning zone and the growth zone, you get the frustrational zone. Okay, and that's not a fun place, and that's where you might end up being controlling. Okay, and we don't want to be controlling, and you know all the reasons why now. Stay in the instructional zone. How do you do that? You choose to be happy. Regardless, I'm going to choose to be happy as I extend myself. Okay, you choose. It's just a choice. Be decisive and know what you want. Okay, where you're going, what you're doing, know it. All right, make a decision. Just pause and just decide. Gratefully challenge yourself forward and be happy with your growth. Anytime that you can just develop yourself a little bit more, be grateful. Pat yourself on the back. Be clear on your vision. All right, and share that vision with others without attachment. Just know that they are free to say no. And in your heart and mind, think of them saying no and think of them saying yes and being okay with both. Okay, that's how you can be unattached. That's how you can be controlling. For me, I'm okay with both, but then I focus my energy, because you need to be focused on imagining good outcomes, successes, and saying yeses. So imagine them collaborating, imagine people getting it, imagine you're working as a team. It's fantastic, it's exciting. That's what we want to focus on so that we don't need to be controlling of other people. Be happy with your daily progress. Know that you're heading in the right direction, that you're becoming different, you're becoming better, you're stronger, you're more empowered, more responsible and accountable for your choices, less blaming, less passive, less attached, more unattached, being grateful, more confident. So if it's a little bit more of this positive thing, a little bit less of that negative thing, you're good. Be happy. Choose to be happy with that. Okay, because happy heart attracts more happy. Okay, when you get to that happy place where you think is the ideal, sometimes you don't appreciate it because you haven't experienced that happiness and joy. You don't know what that feels like. So look for ways to be collaborative with others. That's a wonderful way to enjoy and have that joy without being controlling. Okay, so here's some oils to help you, because we know that essential oils have high vibrations. It helps cleanse your body so you have more control over your body, more self-awareness. We use the multi-senses to recondition ourselves and rewire. When we smell and touch and taste and feel, all of that wire our brains and hearts and souls together. Okay, because it all fires together, it wires together, right? So first oil is cilantro. You can take it internally. It helps detox your body. Smell it if you like. Okay, make friends with it. Make sure you like it. If you don't like it, you work on those emotions, okay? Cilantro is releasing control. Clove is to help you have stronger, healthier boundaries. So that means you contain yourself. You don't hold other people responsible for your happiness. Sometimes people who are victims to things, they're like, oh, so-and-so so controlling, right? And they make me sad, make me mad. Well, it's just because you're trying to control the way people act around you, even though you're the one that thinks that everyone else is controlling, and vice versa. Sometimes you think people can't be trusted, don't know what they're doing, I just better tell them what to do. Clove just helps you stay within your zone of power, let other people stay in their zone. HD clear is about being perfect. Are you okay with imperfections? Are you okay with God's version of perfection? Are you able to still love yourself and be happy with and not be controlling if you are not checking those boxes of what the world's definition of perfection is? Okay, so for those perfectionists, HD clear is a great oil for you. Okay, slim and sassy is the inner beauty. We see ourselves in a way that we can recognize and appreciate our beauty, and guess what, we'll be able to see that in others. And when we see that in others, we're not going to be tempted to be controlling of them, because we see that they're divine, that they're intelligent, that they're beautiful, good people with who are well-meaning. Okay. And then the other one is marjoram. Marjoram is the oil of connection. We can connect to people, understand who they are, love them for who they really are. So use these oils, smell them, taste them, touch them, okay, to help you rewire. So my friend, if you would like to book an energy balancing session, the website's right there. I have a directory of earth angels. We'll get more and more earth angels as we go. They can do sessions on you as well. If you're interested in this work, please join me and become an earth angel. Take the Energy Balancing with Faith course. It's on my website, and there's your link there. It's a 7-week online course. I give you 10 weeks to complete it. Every week we have a meeting where we have questions and answers, a review the week's work. We have a private Facebook group where I post information and just juicy stuff about energy balancing. Once you finish the 7-week course, you have lifetime access. Okay, so within that 10 weeks, if you finish, you have lifetime access. Okay, lifetime access is about 2,000 something, so you get it for free when you finish the course within that time. And then once you finish within that time, I recommend that you practice on 30 people, and then you book a time with me, do a session on me, and then you can become a practitioner. And then I'll put you on my directory. Basically, we're building a community of earth angels who know how to help people understand their emotions and their misalignments, read the body, and help them find greater happiness. Okay, so that's the website. Okay, so go ahead and enroll there. It's open all the time, but we go through a semester at a time if you want to ask me about when semesters start. But otherwise, you can start it. Now, I am a doTERRA wellness advocate. I invite people to open their wholesale account with doTERRA. It's only $35 for the whole year. And if you want to renew this next year, it's only $25. You get a free peppermint oil worth $27. But when you have a wholesale account, you buy everything for 25% off the retail price. So that's a really good deal. And you get points back and everything. And if you pick an enrollment kit, your $35 membership fee is waived. So there's a few enrollment kits here. Yeah, you can find the other enrollment kits online as well. Okay, so here's my link. You can go there and enroll, or contact me if you need me to help you pick a kit that fits you. All right. So join with me and be part of our community. Turn around and share the love forward with others. Okay. Just want to thank you for joining me today. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and friend and like me on Facebook and Instagram. And please comment below. Tell me what you think of this video, and please share with your friends. Okay. Thank you so much. Take care, and I'll see you in another video. Bye for now.